Control. Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She caught me with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. The claws in my heart, I can't let go, I'm breaking apart, controlling me.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Monday edition of the Paranormal Portal, Bedtime Stories From Beyond. Hope you're having a great day, and welcome to the show, and welcome. Monday is now over, so you can relax. I got a little short going on here, and I got to figure out where it is. It's not. I'm hearing it in my headphones, and I was hearing it on the other speakers too. But I'm trying to get it all sorted because it's driving me crazy. I think that's it. Okay. This board is a used board. It's several channels and stuff. It works wonderfully. I had everything all set, but my cat walked across it, and now some of those annoying things are coming back that I had tweaked out just through careful adjustments. I was able to get it all worked out, but I think it's okay now. Okay, good. Hope you guys are all ready because it's time for bed. All right, so we are underway, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the portal. And I'm your host, Brent Thomas. These are the Bedtime Stories from Beyond. And I hope you are ready to deal with that. Oh, thanks, Julia. I see Julia is hot on it. Good evening to you, Lori. It's nice to see you. And thank you for being here. Just looking through the list, Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob, Gentry, Coda, a bunch of you guys are in here so far. I don't want to hit that participants thing because it seems like once you click it, that's all it'll ever refresh. So I want to wait a little bit to do shout outs because, we're still getting more people through the door every second, but Pat is here, Dana's here, Julie is here, Haxer's here, Gentry, Coda's here, Zero Mind is here. Just going through the list. Lori Babineau, thank you so much. I don't know if I recognize your name. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting it. I think it is familiar, but it's been a while, I think. If you are someone I've known, I'm terrible with names, so you got to forgive me. It's like my personal dyslexia. Let's see. I just saw another one. Bigfoot, Michigan. Rob is here. Sarah is here. Welcome, Sarah. Good to see you. Diana Daniels Orcutt is here. And Pam Edgerton. And I think, Cryptid 559. Good to see you. So, and Don's here. Good to see you, Don. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to lead off the show with this because it's something that I know Don's been working really hard on. In every spare moment that he has, he's been really throwing himself into this. So I want to put it up on screen for you guys so you guys can see it. But if you go to, and it's in the description, the show description, so you don't have to worry about memorizing it. But let me pull this up so you guys can see it, because I'm proud of my dwarven friend, Mr. Longbeard. He's worked really hard on this, and this is our new Teespring site, ladies and gentlemen. And Don has set this all up. He's been working hard on it. I'm pitching in a little bit here and there, but most of this is by virtue of Don and his love of Paranormal Portal gear. So you can see we've got T-shirts, black and white, which, those are the two primary colors in my world. You got to have black for something like Paranormal Portal. Are you kidding me? But there is white for those of you with very clean and pure souls. I don't know what peen means, but that's what my mouth spit out. We got coffee mugs, a couple different varieties, iPhone and Samsung cases, some stickers, limited edition iPhone cases and Samsung cases, and another version of the mugs, and one other version of the mugs, some more shirts, and the leggings. These I think are cool. That is really cool. I just think that looks so cool right down the leg like that. I thought that looks really slick. So if you want to look slick as well, then you now know where to go looking to look slick. There's a gray variety, but we're going to change that from black to white font on those. Don and I were discussing that. But this is our site, ladies and gentlemen. And this is all, again, the hard work of Mr. Longbeard and his love of Portal gear. So check it out. See if there's something you might want. It certainly will help to support the show, and will help to keep it growing and keep it developing. Unfortunately, this is a labor of love for the most part. Many of you have given, freely, just donating to the show, and that was really cool. And of course, we sold T-shirts prior to this, but not a whole lot, just a few here and there, and that certainly helped as well. But hopefully we can generate a little more steam behind it, because a lot of what we want to do has a price tag on it. And unfortunately, Don and I are eating a lot of these expenses ourselves just to do the show. And it takes us away from other things that we could do to generate money, but this is a labor of love. So if you see something you like, if you want to help support the show, it's here. I just wanted to give a formal display of it, because like I said, it's something Don's worked hard on, and I think it's pretty cool. He's done a real good job. So thank you, Don. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. And the URL, and it looks really weird up here, but it's, if you just do teespring.com/stores/paranormal-portal, that'll get you there. But again, the link is in the show description on YouTube. So that's it. So now you've seen it. It is live and underway. We'll be putting a few more items on there as well. But at least now you've seen it. Now it's out there. So check it out. Anyway, let's get to some spookiness. How you guys doing tonight? Anything going on? Did I miss anything while I was going through the Paranormal Portal store? Did I miss anything? I've only been in the chat a few times. I'm not a big live chat gal. Oh, well, I'm glad you are tonight, Lori. It's nice to see you, and thank you. That's really sweet. Paranormal Portal is my favorite. You're awesome. I love you already. But I really appreciate it. I know a lot of people say the chat moves pretty quick in YouTube, and it does. But we have the nicest group of people in our chat room by far. Just a bunch of great people, and it's really become a family. And I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't. It's all of the people that are in the chat room that have created that family. So you guys are amazing, all of you. So let's get to some stories. Let's get to the meat. Let's see. Oh, I was going to read that one that was from last night, and it was a really long one. So I'm going to start with that one because it's kind of a long one. I mean, it's not horribly, horribly long. Man, this is really bothering me. Why am I not hearing my own ear? Whoa, there we go. I think that's better. There we go. I got all kinds of weird stuff going on tonight. This story it has to do with the Ouija board, and it comes out of Nebraska. So let's take a look at this and see what's going on in Nebraska, because we don't see a lot of stories out of Nebraska. And I don't know if that's because not a lot of weirdness happens in Nebraska, or people just don't talk about it much in Nebraska. I don't know. I'm just saying. But let's find out what's going on in Nebraska, or what did go on in 2007. So any of you who have read my comments to others can tell I'm absolutely against Ouija boards. I had not posted this story yet because, well, it's taken me some time to put it into words. My husband, who is a staunch unbeliever in spirits and entities, although he feels UFOs are a possibility, go figure, even had experiences with this and tightens up whenever the event is brought up by anyone. This happened about 3 years ago, and my teenage son was having a sleepover with my cousin's son, pretty close to the same age, and they spent a lot of time together, along with 2 other boys their age, and they never were troublemakers or anything. They just liked to get together at one of the houses or non-school nights and stay up and watch movies and play video games. My cousin calls me at home at about 9:30 p.m. just frantic. I could hardly understand what she was saying, and I did make put that she wanted me to come over immediately, and I could hear all the boys in the background talking and being loud, as if they were stressed or excited, and it was -8 degrees Fahrenheit, so needless to say, I wasn't looking forward to leaving the house, but she just kept shouting that I needed to get over there. I bundled up quickly and headed over to their house, and it was only about a 5-minute drive, so my car didn't even really get a chance to warm up at all. And as I pulled up into the duplex, I noticed my sister's car, 2 other cousins' cars, and the people renting the opposite side of the duplex were all outside, and I thought, oh no, a fire. Oh, hope no one was hurt. I jumped out of the truck and bounded up the stairs, and my cousin kept saying, "It is down here. It's down here," all the while pointing at the basement stairs. I asked, what was down there? And she wouldn't answer. She was white as a sheet. I had the boys lead me downstairs and explain what was going on. The boys indicated that they had just put a rocking chair in the room, and while they were playing video games, they kept hearing whispering. Thinking it was each other, they let it go for a while, and finally one of the boys got disgusted because it was interrupting their concentration, and he turned around to hush the other boys and saw a figure in the rocking chair. The figure was dark, but had a red-tinged glow around the chair. My nephew let out a gasp, and all of the boys turned around, and here sat this thing with the area of his face directed at the group of boys, and the boys focused on the being in the chair, and it leaned forward and hissed, "Get out." The boys jumped up as fast as they could to get out of there, and as the boys left, the being jumped out of the chair and hovered about an inch from the ceiling. When the boys returned to my cousin, she went down the stairs and experienced the same entity. As she got down into the basement, the thing jumped out at her and hissed, "Get out." She was up the stairs as fast as she said her feet did not even touch the stairs. A family friend came over and brought a Ouija board up. Up until this point, I'd never used one, and I didn't know much about them. The only thing I thought was that they were a bunch of hogwash. We all went into the basement except the boys. They wanted nothing to do with the basement at all, and began using the Ouija board, and we asked if we were alone, and it said no. We asked if the spirit wanted to communicate with us, and it said no. And we asked what the spirit wanted from us, and it very plainly spelled out D-I-E, die. The pointer began spinning, and we were all up the stairs in a flash. I was the last one up, and I turned and looked down the stairs near the rocker, and I could see a shadow of a human shape hunched over with greenish pointed teeth and orange eyes. It began to move towards the stairs, and I took the last 4 steps in one leap. I screamed down the stairs, "You are not welcome in this house. In the name of God and all that is holy, go back to where you came from. If you cannot return, you must if you cannot return, you must not, in the name of God, pass this door. It was 2 a.m. at this time, and my cousin and her family came and slept on a hide-a-bed and air mattress at my house, and we left the basement door firmly locked when we left. The next morning, we went to my cousin's church and consulted a priest, and he said he would meet us at the house in an hour. And we feed the kids and took all the kids back to my house and picked up our husbands and headed over to her house, and we did not enter until the priest arrived. Although my husband thought this was absolutely ridiculous. We entered the house. The Ouija board that we had left locked in the basement was in the middle of the living room floor, with the pointer dead center in the middle of it. The basement door, which we had firmly latched, was wide open, as were several of the drawers and doors in the kitchen. The television was on and the bathroom shower was on. The priest tried to make light of the situation with some levity. He said, well, at least it's a clean evil. It took a shower. None of us laughed. My cousin and I went outside. I'm not sure if there was an exorcism or what. My husband stayed in the house with the priest, as did her husband, and they were in there for about a half hour. They then went back to the back of the house, placed the Ouija board, pointer, and box to the board in a metal trash can and burned it. After burning it, the priest sprinkled holy water over the ashes and continued to hiss and sputter, but I don't think that was all from the heat. The priest said he did what he could, but now might be a good time to relocate and find a different house. My cousins moved 2 days later, actually spending the nights at my house. The basement door had deep gashes in it, both inside and out, from top to bottom. As they were moving into the new house, the rocking chair had been placed in the garage until they could figure out where they wanted it. And I was walking by the garage and looked over at the chair and saw a man, tall and lean, wearing a faded red t-shirt, black ball cap, and jeans, sitting there, rocking. I assumed it was one of my cousin's friends who had come to help move, taking a break, and when I went back in the house, I asked my cousin who he was, and she said that no one else had come to help move except for family. They gave that chair away to her sister, who thought it was all a hoax. On the third day she had the chair, she walked by her sitting room and saw a young man described exactly as I had seen rocking in the chair. The chair was burned that night in the metal can. Some holy water the priest had left sprinkled on top just for good measure, again hissing and sputtering. All my husband will tell me about being in that house with the priest was that there were actions and sounds coming from everywhere, and you couldn't pinpoint a location because it would move. He stated there was something not human in there, and it was none too happy to be interrupted. And I asked if it left, and he said he wasn't sure, but wasn't in a hurry to go back and find out. He will not talk anymore about it. Well, there you have it. Those darn Ouija boards. But that activity came before the Ouija board session. But I don't know. So initially it was just a presence around a chair in the basement, but perhaps by virtue of using the Ouija board when that figure was trying to assert itself in their home, maybe that just opened the door wide open for it to push all the way through. Like, I think that there is a process to a spirit gaining a foothold in a home. I don't think that they can just boom, they're there and deal with it. I think that they probably don't have a lot of energy or ability in a new home until they, work their way into the home. And I don't know how to explain it other than it seems that they need a permission of sorts. And by fearing them, that is a permission of sorts. Whenever you have fear for something, you are acknowledging a weakness from this thing. You are acknowledging that this thing that is making you afraid is stronger than you. So you are submitting to these things. Now, I'm not saying you should never be startled. Startled is natural. That's just a psychology thing. I mean, we just can't prepare for everything. When something happens, oh my God, that's startled. But to see something happen and feel absolutely powerless and weak and small and humiliated and emasculated, that is a submission. And so I think that over a process of time and over a process of many actions, the spirits encourage the people to submit, the negative ones. Now, there's loving, kind spirits everywhere as well, and I don't want anyone to get the idea from listening to the show that there's only bad and horrible and terrible. I think that there's wonderful, beautiful spirits around, and they are always working to help, and I think that's beautiful. But we don't talk about those very much on the show. I mean, because quite honestly, it's a beautiful thought, but it's not nearly as entertaining, I guess. I still think I love the good spirit stories. I really do. It's just there aren't as many of them out there. Most people are just terrified of this stuff, and they're ghost stories, So that was the story that I pulled up last night that I was just like, no, I don't have enough time to read that. And I didn't. It was already an hour show, just the way it was. So I never want the bedtime stories to go longer than an hour. I am hearing things in my headphones tonight. But I think it has to do with the balance being screwed up. And I think that other side is coming in and going out. It's really distracting, though. All right. What did I do? Okay, I'm pulling up some more for you guys because that's the loving I have for you. And one more. I think that should be good. I just want to do some shout outs now. I guess there's like 20 of you in here, so let's I pulled up the participants list and there's like Julia, Dana, Deborah, Haxor, Lori Babineau, Lewis, Matthew, Orange County Girl, myself, and Sarah. And that's all I have on the list. So is that really all that's talking? Because there was more before. I don't know. I don't understand that participants list. I don't think it's quite accurate. But I'm showing there's 20 watching. But then again, my counter is never very accurate either. Maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. I'd do the show even if nobody was watching. But I'm glad you guys are watching. It makes it a lot more fun. Otherwise, it's, pretty self-serving. All right, this one's coming out of California. My sisters and brother, my parents and I were in the kitchen watching television. It was about 10:30 p.m. at the time, and just the past week, my grandmother had died from eating ice cream, they said. Oh, she had suffered from stomach freeze instead of brain freeze. Seriously, is that a thing? Oh my God. After the funeral on Saturday, my family and I had been seeing strange things and hearing weird noises late at night. Back to the day where my whole family was together watching TV. My dad had told us all to go to bed because it was late. And excuse me. Usually, every night my dad would shake his keychain to scare my little brother so he would go to sleep. But that night, it wasn't exactly what we thought it was. The first time was my dad shaking his keychain because us girls were talking and laughing, and it was about 5 or 6 years old at the time, and me and my sisters were cracking up jokes and laughing and having fun. First time my dad shook his keys, my little brother got scared and went to sleep right away. My mom and my sisters and my little brother and I slept on a mattress, king size. My dad slept on a single bed because he didn't want to be distracted. After me and my sister were done laughing and joking and were getting tired and ready to sleep, everyone had fallen asleep except me. And I'm always the last one to fall asleep, and even today still. I was just about to close my eyes and getting myself comfortable when I heard the keys jingling. My dad was asleep. I heard him snoring. But I asked him to stop shaking his keys because everyone was asleep already, but My dad gave her a reply. I'm not shaking my keys. I thought he was joking and asked him again, but he gave me the same reply. I was frightened a little, so I woke my little older sister up, and she told me she was asleep, but she could still hear the keys jingling. I finally fell asleep, and now my older sister was up, and we sleep right below the window, and it was open, so it was cold, and my older sister pulled the blanket over our feet, and then all of a sudden the blanket went right up, not covering our feet. I was really scared now. Me, my sister, again cover the blanket over our feet, and this time the blanket didn't go up. Instead, someone was tickling our feet. We both thought it was our dad and asked him to stop, but he gave us a reply. I'm not tickling your feet. I'm sleeping all the way over here. Me and my sister were really, really scared. I mean, scared to death. I was too scared to get up and look around, so I decided to go under the blankets and curl up, and my older sister, however, got up in a sitting position and looked around, and she told me she didn't see anything at first, but then, when she was about to lay back down, she saw it. It was there at the end of the mattress. It was there, smiling and waving at my sister. She was wearing Hmong clothes, a traditional outfit for New Year, and also when they die. She had blood dripping on one side of her mouth, and her teeth were all red. My sister said her hair was long and black and messy. And just when the ghost was about to climb on the bed, my sister screamed very loud and woke everyone up. I was so scared that I cried. But I wasn't the only one. My younger sisters and my little brother had cried too. We all told my parents what we saw that night, and my parents went to their house and asked grandfather to come take a look. And he told us that grandma had come to visit because she misses us. Wow. Okay. Why'd she have blood dripping on her face then? I don't think that was grandmother. I don't believe that was grandma. She died of stomach freeze. Now, I don't know if that's possible. Is it possible to just eat too much ice cream fast and die? I've never even heard of that. I don't know. I think that probably these kids just got told a story because it was maybe easier than explaining cancer or something. I don't know. Stomach freeze, brain freeze. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if yeah, exactly, Orange County girl, that was not the grandma. That was someone who died of a head injury of some kind. Pretty sad, but yeah. And I believe that spirits appear that way because that's a quick way to share their story. It's like, well, this is how I died. You know, I don't think they do it to try to freak people out. I mean, it is freaky, but, you know, without any other way to really communicate other than the most efficient way is visually. So you can see something's wrong with their head. They're bleeding, had bloody mouth, boom. You know, obviously some kind of head injury. And, you know, maybe that's part of the closure that they need is they just need to share that with somebody. So, yeah, I don't think it's to look as creepy as possible, like on Beetlejuice, where they're doing the weird crap with their bodies just so they look all freaky. I mean, I believe that happens too, but I think most spirits aren't trying to freak everyone out. They're just trying to share, hey, I'm here. I'm not gone yet. Somebody talk to me. This is what happened. So, just some thoughts. All right, let's see what's next. Okay. The next one's coming out of Washington, ladies and gentlemen. Washington State, which is right to the west of me. I always believed that ghosts exist, but I never wanted to see one. I was always afraid I'd get too scared, and maybe I'd have a heart attack or something. This happens to me when I lived with my son's dad. My son was just born a couple of months before this happened, and we were under a lot of stress being young parents and all, and we lived in a house that was separated into 3, so there was another person living beside us and another one lived upstairs. It's called a triplex, I think. But I didn't have a crib for my son yet, so I let him sleep in the living room on the couch since that was the closest thing we had to a bed besides our bed. And we put a baby monitor in the living room right next to him so we could hear him cry from our room which happened to be the furthest one from the living room. One night we woke up to him crying, or what we thought was him, and I rushed into the living room like I do every night to find him fast asleep, which was really odd because I just heard a baby crying. I didn't think anything of it and just returned to my room, and the crying on the monitor had also stopped, and I went to lay down next to Bobby, my son's dad, and when we heard crying again, and he told me to go check on the baby, and while he stayed in the room to see where that cry was coming from. I checked the living room, but my son was asleep, and it was quiet, and I went back to the room, and we listened to the cry, and it sounded like a mechanical baby because it kept crying and crying over again with the same tone. And it had a really sad cry, and then it just stopped. We climbed back into the bed trying to figure out what it could have been. And Bobby thought it could have been someone with a mechanical baby standing outside the living room window trying to lure us out there. Or it could be a baby ghost spirit, or maybe our monitor was intercepting with someone else's. When he mentioned the ghost, part of my heart started pounding really fast, and I started sweating. I was so scared thinking about it, and I was so sure a ghost was just going to pop out in front of me or something, but he told me not to be scared, otherwise I will see the ghost. After that, I got my son a crib and put him in the other room across from us, and he never used that monitor again. And a couple months later, I had a really scary dream and tried to wake up from it by opening my eyes, and I finally got my eyes open and sat up. The room was dark, but there was a light coming from the kitchen, and the door was open because Bobby liked to stay up late playing video games in the living room. I got out of bed and started walking towards it, but my head was tilted to the side, and I couldn't straighten it. It was like my neck was broken, and I was walking around with my head sideways like a corpse. I got scared and realized that I must have been dreaming, and when I tried opening my eyes again to wake up, and it worked. I woke up, and just like in the dream, the door was open and the kitchen light was on, and I ran into the living room and to make sure Bobby was there and told him what had happened. The next morning, I woke up to what looked like Bobby sitting on top of me. I couldn't move or speak. He just sat there looking down at me, but I knew it wasn't Bobby because behind his eyes, I saw nothing. It was like there was no soul behind it to see. So I struggled and tried to move and finally was able to wake up. Again, everything looked exactly like it had when I saw him. During those experiences, I was undergoing a lot of stress, and I don't know if that's what triggered it, but I've never had an experience since that time. Yeah, that's creepy. I don't know. Matthew's going to crush up some Heath bars and mix it in cookie dough. Nice job. That sounds nummy. I mean, it really does, but I'm on a diet, so, thank you for talking about that. Not that my diet is your problem, of course, but God, why does all the bad crap have to taste so good? That's the thing, It's like, why doesn't vegetables taste awesome? I mean, they do in their own way, but you know what I mean. Somebody should make some like Reese's flavored celery or something. I'd be eating the hell out of that stuff. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. If, all I ask is, a few percentage points on that deal. All right. This one's coming out of Wisconsin. My family moved to a house located 2 blocks from Riverside Park in Wausau, Wisconsin, in 1989, the summer before I was to enter the 2nd grade. Being that the park was close, my neighborhood kids and I spent most of our summer vacation there playing tag, fishing, and bike riding. And there's a bridge that connects the main park to another section called Ferns Island. And obviously the name because the area is surrounded by water. And the water, of course, is jet black, either polluted or evil. The kids refused to go to that section of the park because it's the most haunted. The story went that hundreds of years ago, a witch inhabited the park area. And there was a boy who was fishing in the area and fell in the river and then drowned. The townspeople blamed the witch and burned her tiny hut. A bloody battle rose between the witch and the townspeople, and bodies of those townspeople were thrown in the river. And finally, when the battle ended, the townspeople buried the dead and left that area. The witch disappeared, but its spirit still roamed the park. I never investigated the story to confirm its originality. Well, it's original, but is it factual? My cousin had an experience at Riverside once, and one night the cousins were hanging out with friends in the parking lots and standing outside their cars and talking. And the only source of light was the vehicle headlights, and all the park lights were dead. Gang members once infested the park, and the city just gave up on cleaning it up. And the group heard slurping sounds and splashing water, and they looked towards the river and saw a dark figure hunched over near the riverbank as if peeling and eating something. The figure turned around and a pair of red eyes looked straight back at them. As the figure walked closer, the group jumped into their cars and drove off, never looking back, and they told this story to my father. The next morning, my father went to investigate, and he came back with a report that there were open crayfish shells and a decaying fish on the riverbank, but nothing more. That sounds kind of squatchy to me. The next story comes from my older brother, CK. CK worked the second shift, so he got off work at midnight, and having such a work schedule for weeks, he hasn't seen his buddies. So during one of these breaks, he called his friends and set up a time to hang out that night after work. And they chose Riverside to meet up since it was close to where the friends lived and his workplace. After CK got off work, he drove past IGA, a supermarket, where he saw his buddies in the parking lot loading beer to the back trunk of their car, and CK waved it to them, and the guys waved back. And CK went to Riverside to wait for the guys, and he parked close to the riverbank, rolled down the driver's side window about an inch and pulled down his seat and laid down looking at the night sky in his car. And all of a sudden he sees a woman with flowing blonde hair running past his car. She then came up to his window and rapped on it, and CK got up and asked her what she wanted. And at first CK thought the woman was a victim of being abused because her clothes were ripped and her hair was distressed. The woman was in hysterical mode and crying, and she slid her fingers through the driver's window opening and told CK, "Everyone's dying. You have to help me. An old witch is down there, and she's killing everyone. She killed my family. It's so bloody down there." And she wiggled her fingers towards CK. Thinking she's just another nut, CK quickly closed his window. And the woman jumped back, and CK then backed out of the parking lot. And just as he was doing so, his buddies drove in the parking lot, and the woman walked in between the vehicles just as they were passing each other, and CK got out of his car and ran towards his friend. The woman was nowhere to be found. "Did you see her? Tell me you saw her," CK shouted at his friends. "Who?" they asked. "That woman. She ran right between our cars just as you guys were coming in." CK said, "We didn't see anyone," was the guy's response. Then CK said, "Man, what took you guys so long? You guys were just at the IGA. It only takes 2 minutes to get here." The guys looked at each other and said, "What are you talking about? We were never at IGA. We came from the east side. We had to go pick up some stuff at my house." CK and the guys looked at each other and left home and never met up at Riverside ever again. Well, that'll learn you. That'll teach you. Stay away from Riverside. What the hell? Riverside's a mess. Sorry. There's always places like that, though. And I don't know. I don't know about witches in Wisconsin. I guess it's possible. I mean, there's no telling where people could be. I do know that some people have a real skewed idea of witches. They're like, You know, on some paranormal groups, there'll be some person go, "Do you believe in witches?" I'm like, you know, and I entered the conversation. I'm like, it's kind of like asking, "Do you believe in Christians?" It's like, what do you mean? Do I believe in witches? Because I think people are there's still a segment of people that think that they're these supernatural crones or whatever, and I think they're confusing the two. I don't know. I just found that really funny. It's like, do you believe in witches? It's like, yeah, pretty sure I do. Very strange. I keep hearing that damn noise in my ear. It's really weird. I'm not trying to be dramatic, ladies and gentlemen. I honestly think it's a deal with a short in one of these lines, but God, it's distracting. It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like yelling from far away, like, "Ah," like that. But it's only in the one ear, the one that's not working real good. So I'm not I'm not claiming it's paranormal. I'm just claiming that it's really freaking distracting. That's why every time I'm pausing, it's because that sound's coming through, and it's just really strange. Oh, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that. Falling asleep, Ram, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, Orange. Orange County girl? She said, I had a trippy experience in bed falling asleep. I swear I heard a loud sound, like a train roaring, and first low to ridiculously loud during this whole time. I am paralyzed. It was freaky. That is freaky. That is freaky. You know, of course, there is a... Wait, hey, Brent, Paranormal Portal, Brent, I think it's accession symptoms. Well, I hope so. You mean ascension? Ascension symptoms? If it's ascension symptoms, that's cool. I'm all for that, but I don't know if there's something else you're referring to, I don't know. Hit it and it will work. You know, I hit it about 3 times before the show went live. Hi, Jess. How you doing? Good to see you. Glad you're able to make it. I don't know if you worked tonight, but hope work went well. Welcome, all of you guys. Unplug and replug it. Yeah, I've been messing with that too. And I mean, I don't know. All of my equipment is dated, you know, and that's kind of the problem, I think. But I think it's live and good now. I was just monkeying with the headphone jack. Oh, Jess was off work today. Very cool. Yeah, it might be Orange County girl. That's certainly possible. Now, there is a very clinical type of sleep paralysis. I mean, it's been very thoroughly proven. However, normal sleep paralysis is the state of being stuck and not being really awake or asleep. You're just kind of stuck in the middle. It's like apparently there's a chemical that is released during sleep. And the reason that happens is that so when we dream that we're running down the street, we don't actually get up out of bed and run down the street. It's just meant to kind of paralyze your body. And so what they believe some of the sleep paralysis is that, you know, there's just too much of that chemical in your system and it has to kind of work its way out. Now, there is a whole different kind, and I really believe that it's supernatural, and that is the ones where people see presences, they see things doing it to them. A lot of times it has a very physical component to it. Now, sleep paralysis is just the inability to move, to be kind of locked in that state, and which would be freaky enough, granted, but there's a whole nother type of situation, and I don't think that they're the same thing. Now, perhaps the spirits can make that chemical release in us, and that's part of the problem. I don't know. I can't pretend to know that kind of information, but I do believe that there is very, very legitimately a paranormal cause to some of those situations. So, you know, take it or leave it. But yeah, I mean, there is a very clinical one, and it has to do with that chemical being in the system and perhaps too much of it. And so you're coming out of the sleep state, but your body is stuck back in that paralyzed state, and it is really horrible. But anyway, that's in a nutshell what I understand about it. Okay, this one's coming from Colorado. My family bought a middle-class home in Arvada, Colorado in the mid-1970s, and the house was normal and had no activity up until my sister and I became teenagers in the mid-1980s. That was about the time that my parents got a divorce and my sister and I got interested in Ouija boards. One summer night in 1985, we decided to invite some friends over to use a Ouija board to find out if it was just a game or not. We figured the only way to get it to move was that one of us would be moving it, and we really didn't believe that it would work. Well, at first it didn't. We almost gave up, and most of us had stood up and started to walk away when the pointer moved on its own. My sister's friend, being the only one left sitting by it, let out a loud scream and told all of us to come back and sit down before it stopped. Well, we started to get all types of answers after that. The friend that was left sitting there to ask started to ask really stupid questions, trying to make it mad or something, and the last question she asked was if he could prove he really existed. What? Oh, God. Would he take advantage of her that night? Not really believing that it was at all real, and that night, as she walked home from our house, someone or something jumped out of the bushes and threw her down to the ground, and it held her down and took advantage of her. We woke up in the morning to the phone ringing to tell us that she was in the hospital and had been beaten almost to death. The doctor told her that they did a rape kit on her and found that she had been penetrated, but they were not sure by what. There was no evidence left behind, and it did not seem like a typical rape. I'm sorry, I hate that word. Ugh. They could not explain it. The only thing she ever told us about it was that it was a figure, and she could not see a face or really a form. After that, we had strange occurrences in our house for every day until we moved about 8 years later. For some reason, though, we have talked to the new neighbors, and they have not had one experience there, like it was only there because of our energy. And that I have never been able to explain. Oh, man, if there's one thing that you shouldn't do, you really shouldn't do, and that is take it or leave it. It's up to you. Do whatever you want with the information on this show as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. But you don't taunt. You don't challenge. Don't taunt or challenge, because something's going to answer. Something sometime somewhere is going to answer. And you're going to be in a whole world of trouble. Now, there are a whole plethora of things out there. Most of which we can't even comprehend. I mean, there are things that are so very different from us, but once you start mocking that whole realm of beings, something's going to decide to show you something. And, you just don't want to play. You don't want to push. If you challenge the universe is going to answer. So be careful. Don't taunt the paranormal. All right, this is Kentucky. This one's a real short one. 49. We're almost at 50 minutes again. Man, I'm talking a lot more than I think, I guess. All right, so. Plethora. Thank you. I pulled that out of my head, believe it or not. Kentucky. Once when I was home alone, I was going to sleep and I saw a shadow of someone dancing in my room. I turned to look back, but I saw nothing but my window. And about a week later, I was startled by it again, but this time it was a different story. I was in the kitchen with my mom, and we had both had to use the bathroom, and then when I came out, first I saw the drawers open. All the cabinets were open too, and then I rushed to tell my mom. When we came back, everything was closed. No one in the house, rather, for right now, that is, could reach the top cabinets. This all started happening every year, then every month, then every week. Now, every day. I don't know how to stop it all. Once, when we went camping in our woods, no bears there, we packed a full pack of beer, and we were all tired, and we had a busy day, and I woke up at 3:15 because it was so cold, and I'm not used to sleeping outside of a home, and I saw this see-through guy with full black drinking our beer. I told him to go away, and then he disappeared with the beer. Awesome. I've tried talking to him, but he runs off somewhere, and I'm really getting sick of him bothering me, and I really think he's harmless, but he's a real pain. He acts like a 5-year-old child, and he starts messing about in my room at night. He's sitting there crying sometimes, but he looks to be about 16 years old. What do you think, or would you try to help? I don't know. Again, this is an old story, so nothing I'm reading on this show is, really, really current stuff. Let's see what's going on here. This is from Texas. And this will be the last one for the night, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see what's going on in Texas, shall we? When I was young, a child, the best thing in the world was waking up on Saturday mornings, for me too, for cartoons. At 6 o'clock on Saturday, the first thing they would start show was Mr. Peppermint. I never even heard of that. Along with his right-hand puppet Muffin. Oh, that's so wrong. The guy named a puppet Muffin. It's a hand puppet, and he called it Muffin. I'm sorry. All right. Focus. All right. And after that, it was over, and they would start showing the good stuff like He-Man and Transformers. And clearly, I was a child of the era of good cartoons before Pokemon took over the world. Oh, I got a phone call. Let's see who's on the phone. Hello there, Mr. Haxer. How are you, sir?
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Well, I hear you were talking about sleep paralysis, right?
I was, indeed.
Okay. So here, let me share some of my life stories, and this may be a sad one for everybody, but this is how it forged my life, okay?
Sure.
All right. So way back in the day, before I ever even thought about doing my current position in the profession, I was, trying out for the football team for high school. And, anyway, the point was, one day, it was a week before what they call Hell Week, with the practicing of, football and so forth. I was planning on going out and jogging a few miles and doing some weight training just to get ready for Hell Week.
Sure.
Something told me not to get out of bed.
Oh.
Well, here's the sad part of the story. It will lead to, hopefully, an explanation of the later part of the story.
Okay.
Apparently, my father hung himself in the house.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That day. It's okay, man. It's been a long time. But
I know.
no. And so this is just to explain what happened. I was pretty traumatic because I was about 16 years old.
Sure. And
losing your dad kind of hurts that way. So anyway, I got frazzled. I didn't go out for the football team after that. And basically my mother did all she could to keep me in check and so forth.
Right.
But we also had a family business that it was a donut shop in the town that we lived in. And it had a lot of extra rooms, and we even put a day bed in there.
Okay.
The house freaked me out so bad that I would actually spend most of my year of 16 and junior year in high school sleeping at the shop.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. But at that time, I didn't know what was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was, trying to sleep and go through all that, I experienced at least 3 weeks of sleep paralysis.
Oh, man. That's harsh.
Oh, it was the weirdest experience where you wake up and you can't move your body.
Yeah.
You try. Your brain is kicking off all these signals to move your arm, move your leg,
Mm-hmm.
move, just move. Come on, move. Why can't I move?
Right.
And like you get freaked out, and you're like, you can't move. And am I awake? Is this like a bad dream? What is going on? I cannot move my body.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, literally the only way I could ever break it is either try to go back to sleep because I thought it was a dream,
Mm-hmm.
or if someone touched me, like to wake me up.
Right.
That suddenly broke the spell or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that. Yeah, those are horrible.
This went on for at least 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh. Do you know?
And
was there any catalyst that broke that cycle for you, or that you can recognize, or no?
the only thing that I think was happening was horrific nightmares easily through my senior year.
Wow.
Literally just stuff that would like freak people out, and and I just had to learn how to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for another story, how I really broke all of that was just something about, I don't know. I can't say it was going back to the church.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more that I got distracted by my mother's failing health.
Oh, sure. Wow.
But yeah, there was friends I had, and they kept me happy, and played, did the school that I was going into, and had a senior year, and had it pretty easy. And but anyway, I had a series like 4 weeks of that, and it was weird because I just had to explain why I was living in a donut shop. Because my house was to me haunted.
Yeah. So it was an active shop, though. I mean, right? Like you guys actually sold donuts and stuff.
Oh yeah, well it was actually a pinnacle in the town I was in. As a matter of fact, all the mayors and city councilmen would come down to my shop just to visit my mother.
Oh. Okay.
And my mom was pissed at the mayor. Literally, the mayor would come down. What's wrong? She was like the godfather of the town or something. And well, no, I mean, so basically, it was just I would say the roughest period of my life.
Yeah.
And anyway, no, and I just figured out how to survive, and I did it. So here I am, and literally, it was just figuring out that literally I remember this because my mom didn't last very much longer than my father.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Uh-huh.
Pretty close to my 21st birthday, my mother was stricken with cancer all over her body.
Oh, dear. Okay. Wow.
And I was 21. She did a champion job of trying to keep me, happy during my father's death.
Mm-hmm.
But now she was passing. And literally, I remember one of the last times I actually got to talk to my cognizant mother was I told her, Mom, I got a job in a bar. And something spun in her mind like this was destiny.
Yeah. Clearly.
Because, my grandmother ran booze for the mob. She was a bootlegger. Then my cousin was famous for blowing up, or my ancient, my long distant cousin blew up an apartment complex running a still in Rhode Island.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No, we've been in this business for longer than I've been alive.
Sure.
and somehow just on my mother's deathbed, she gets to hear that I've got a job at a bar.
But she was proud of that, huh?
No, she was happy.
Good.
She was like, what can I tell you? And yeah, so she died pretty much after that. And at that point, I was working full time on my career.
Well, which is, and ladies and gentlemen, if you're not aware of it, this is Haxer on the phone call, and he is opening a club of his own, and I'm really excited. I've seen the pictures as you've been making progress, and very good, brother. It's going to be a beautiful place.
Oh, no, I know it is, and I just know that there's a niche in this town that they don't have a classy bar, so
right.
I'm going to be taking the biggest leap of my life and opening one up against all odds. And right now, it's got great support. And I can't even believe the support. I've got city council people coming down to literally walk in my shop and say, hey, when's the bar opening? The city council people are asking.
Sure.
Well, I've got other people. Everybody's asking, when is it opening? When's it opening? Opening. And I'm like, guys, I'm trying to get through all the hoops.
Well, it's going to be a big hit. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I mean, we get to meet the health department on Thursday, and the inspector or the person on our case is literally mind connected to me. So she understands.
Oh, good. Okay.
She knows that I'm not. She even explained to me why we have such a lengthy application is because Jed thinks that if he puts a refrigerator on its side, that's a beer cooler for the back of his fridge, for the bar. And, they'll just have the sewage going into a bucket underneath the thing, and they call it a bar. And you wouldn't believe the things we've seen people try to get away with.
Oh, man.
And I said, no, I got questions for you. This application's confusing. Would you like to talk to my general contractor, or would you like to talk to my plumbing contractor, or would you like to talk to my electrician and contractor? You got contractors? Oh my God. Okay. This is easy. Just come on down on Thursday. We'll get you signed up in your end.
This is it. This is your competition that you're referring to here. I don't think you'll have much trouble.
Oh no, it's going to be something else. But anyway, no, thank you, family, for responding. I'm reading it as it goes by, and of course you can come to the grand opening. I don't know when it is, but it will be also hosted by Code Rum out of Florida. They're going to be bringing their van down and setting up the tent and turning it into a crazy opening day.
Fantastic, brother. Well, keep us posted.
Yeah, so, anyway,
we're anxious for this all to happen. And thank you so much for calling in too. That's really cool. And thank you for sharing your stories. And, I am very proud to know you. And, I guess some of the greatest people I've ever met have had, the most adversity, and so you're certainly no exception. But well done. Way to.
Well, thank you, sir.
I love success stories. That makes believers out of all of us.
Okay. Well, thanks for the show, Brent. It's great. Love tuning in, and to my family out there in YouTube land, love you all. All right, I'll hang up now so you can keep going.
All right, brother. Thanks again.
Ciao, man.
All right. Well, that was cool. And thank you, Julie, for pointing that out to me. I didn't know. I get real tunnel vision when I'm doing, the solo shows, and I got to make sure to widen my gaze to all monitors. So thank you, Julia. I appreciate that. So this guy's gotten up on Saturday morning cartoons watching Mr. Peppermint and Muffin. I watched Mr. Mr. Peppermint and Muffin argue for a few minutes and then heard a soft noise coming from the rear of the house. I don't know why, but I went back down the hall towards my bedroom, and I did, and I looked further down the hall towards an unused bedroom at the very end, and I thought that I heard something moving in there. And since I did have a small dog, I thought maybe Phoenix was in there. I walked into the darkened room, and to my horror, saw a bright green mass with a face floating above the furniture in the room. My parents had been using this room for storage since me and my brother were at that time young enough to share a room. The mask turned towards me and had this startled expression as if I had scared him, and I assumed from the face that it was a male, but after all these years, I don't remember specifics about the face. I ran from my bedroom and got back in bed and did what all little kids do when they are terrified and pulled the covers over my head. If you pull the covers over your head, it stops any monsters from being able to touch you through the blanky force field. There you go, Don, the blanky force field. That'll be one of the items that'll be included in the store, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, is a Paranormal Portal blankie. So I stayed there for hours until I heard my parents get up, and they asked me if I had turned on the television because it was still on in the living room. And this is how I know that I really did get up out of bed and was not dreaming, because I did turn on the television. I don't know what I saw that morning, but it was not mean or dangerous. It was just there and appeared to be afraid of little old me. And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen. Another Bedtime Stories behind us. But I hope you guys all have a wonderful Tuesday. I'll be here tomorrow night again for more of these bedtime stories, but have a great day tomorrow. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and be sure to laugh as much as you're able. So I love you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow. And thank you so much for being a part of the family, and for tuning in and for supporting the show as much as you guys have. It's really grown and grown and grown and grown, and it's very exciting. So I owe most of that to you guys. So thank you so much for your support. But have a good night. Take care. Get tucked in, and sweet dreams.